If you've ever gone no contact with someone, cutting off communication after a breakup, or stepping back because things just weren't right, you've probably had that thought creep in. What if he's secretly hoping I'll break it? And I get it. That thought tugs at your emotions. It's romantic in a way, isn't it? The idea that he's sitting there, silently waiting for you to reach out, scrolling through old photos, missing your voice, hoping that today will be the day your name pops up on his phone. But here's where you have to catch yourself, because this is the very moment where your brain can start playing tricks on you. That fantasy starts to override reality, and you find yourself holding on, not for your healing, not for your growth, but for a reaction. And let me tell you, something that might sting a little, but is incredibly important to understand. Silence is powerful only when it's intentional. If you're using no contact as a tactic to get him to miss you, to trigger a text from him, to pull him back in, then you're not truly in no contact. You're in emotional limbo. You've cut the cord physically, but you're still tethered energetically. You're still waiting for him to take the bait. And when your silence is rooted in hope instead of self-worth, it's not power, it's strategy. And strategy can be seen from a mile away. Now think about this. If he is secretly hoping you'll break no contact, you need to ask yourself, why is he hoping you will break it? If he wants to talk, why isn't he reaching out? Why is he sitting in the shadows hoping you'll make the first move? That kind of behavior doesn't signal confidence, maturity, or emotional clarity. It suggests he's not ready to do the vulnerable thing and show up for what he wants. He's waiting to see if you still care enough to relieve his anxiety. That's not a man taking initiative. That's a man watching from the sidelines. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The people who sit silently hoping we'll reach out aren't always the ones we want to come back to, because the right person doesn't hide behind silence. The right person reaches out. They own their feelings. They take responsibility. They say, hey, I've been thinking about you. Can we talk? That's what emotional maturity looks like. That's what growth looks like. So if someone's just waiting for you to break the silence, you have to wonder, is he hoping for reconnection or is he hoping for reassurance? And those two are very different things. You can't build a real connection with someone who just wants to feel wanted again. And I know how hard that can be to swallow, especially when your heart still feels connected. But here's where the shift needs to happen. You have to reclaim the reason you went no contact in the first place. Was it because you were exhausted from chasing clarity? Was it because you were tired of trying to prove your worth? Was it because you finally realized that staying in the loop with someone who couldn't commit was draining the joy out of your life? Then hold on to that. That reason is your compass. That reason is what protects you from breaking the silence just to get a hit of temporary validation. Because breaking no contact shouldn't be about scratching an emotional itch. It should be a decision that comes from clarity and self-respect. It should come from you knowing that reaching out aligns with your values, your peace, your growth, not just your loneliness. And more often than not, when you do reach out from that place of longing, hoping that maybe he's thinking about you too, you're left disappointed because he might reply, sure, he might even be friendly, but there's no intention, no effort, no change, just a familiar voice reminding you why you had to walk away in the first place. That's why silence is only powerful when it's anchored in intention. When you decide this isn't working for me anymore, and you take space not to manipulate, but to heal, that's when the silence becomes strength. That's when you grow. That's when you find clarity. You stop wondering what he's doing or thinking or feeling, and you start focusing on your life again, your joy, your purpose. You build something that isn't dependent on his attention to feel real. And here's the kicker. When you reach that place, you don't need him to reach out anymore. You don't care if he's secretly hoping or silently watching. You're not playing a game. You're living your life. And in that moment, the power shifts. Not because you won, but because you let go. And that kind of peace, that kind of freedom, that's far more attractive than any text he could ever send. So when that thought creeps in, what if he's hoping I'll break no contact? Ask yourself this instead. Do I even want to be the person who breaks it? Or am I ready to be the person who doesn't need to? Because the moment you choose silence as a boundary instead of a bait, that's the moment you start choosing yourself. If he's silently hoping you'll come back, ask yourself, why isn't he doing anything about it? It's tempting to romanticize this idea, right? That he's sitting there, quietly longing for you, that every time his phone buzzes, he hopes it's your name lighting up the screen, that he's scrolling through old photos, replaying your last conversation, thinking about what he should have said. And sure, maybe some of that is happening. But if that's all it is, just thoughts, just hope, just silence, then it's not enough. Because here's the truth. Hope is not a strategy. Clarity is. You can't build a relationship or rebuild one on the assumption that someone might be feeling something. You can't navigate your next move based on a possibility. And most importantly, you can't let your peace, your progress, and your power be held hostage by someone else's inactivity. We've all had moments where we say to ourselves, I wonder if he misses me. And sometimes that thought brings a kind of comfort. Like, maybe if he does, maybe if he's out there thinking of me, then this space between us isn't really a rejection. It's just unfinished business. But here's the catch. What is he doing with that thought? Because people can feel something and still not be ready. People can miss you and still not be the right person for you. And people can sit in silence, not because they respect your boundary, but because they're waiting for you to break it. They want you to be the brave one, you to be the vulnerable one, you to put your pride on the line and reach out first. Because that way, and that's not connection, that's avoidance. It's easy to look at no contact like a test. Let me see if he cares enough to come after me. But let's be real. If someone needs complete silence to suddenly realize they care about you, then what were they doing before? Why didn't they value you when they had access to you? Silence is not a magic spell that transforms someone. Yes, it can create space, it can trigger reflection, but it doesn't change someone's emotional availability, their effort, their communication style, and if it does, if it suddenly brings clarity to them, then that clarity has to come with action. Words matter, thoughts matter, but in love, action is what tells you everything. If he's sitting back, silently wishing you'd break the no contact, that's not romantic, it's passive, and passivity can be dangerous when you're trying to build a healthy dynamic, because you'll be the one always bridging the gap. You'll be the one managing the emotion, steering the conversation, initiating the healing. And that's not love. That's labor. You deserve someone who doesn't let silence grow like a wall between you. You deserve someone who says, I've thought about you and I'm ready to talk. I don't want to lose this. Not someone who waits for a sign, a breadcrumb, or a text just to know whether it's safe to care again. You're not here to do emotional gymnastics. You're not here to decode someone's silence. And if he's hoping you'll break no contact, ask yourself this. Is it because he's scared to lose you? Or is it because he doesn't want to be the one to look vulnerable? Because there's a big difference between I miss you and I miss being in control. One is rooted in growth and reflection. The other is rooted in ego and avoidance. You breaking no contact might relieve him, but that doesn't mean it will change him. That moment of thank God she texted might make him feel good, but what does he do with that relief? Does he step up, show up? Does he apologize, explain, ask to try again? Or does he just enjoy the comfort of knowing you're still around? You're not a security blanket. You're not a fallback plan. You're not a source of validation for someone who doesn't want to do the hard emotional work. The harsh truth is, if he really wanted to repair what was broken, no contact wouldn't stop him. His pride wouldn't stop him. His fear wouldn't stop him. Because real feelings push past discomfort. Real desire shows up even when it's hard. And you might say, but maybe he's scared to. Maybe, but fear isn't an excuse for inaction. If you're scared and still showing restraint, still holding your boundary, still doing the work to protect your peace, then he can be scared and still do the work too. Two people can be scared, but only one is showing courage. So don't wait for a maybe. Don't act on a guess. Don't break your silence just to confirm a suspicion. Let him come forward with clarity, with intention, with real energy behind his words. Let him be the one to say, I've had time to think and I know what I want. Not, I was hoping you'd reach out first so I didn't have to be vulnerable. You deserve more than someone who sits in silence and calls it love. You deserve someone who speaks up because they don't want to risk losing you. Let silence reveal who's really invested. Let it separate those who are comfortable with your energy from those who are committed to having it again. If he's secretly hoping you'll break no contact, the real question is, what is he doing with the space you've given him? That silence, that distance, it's not just a pause in communication, it's a mirror. It reflects who someone is when they no longer have your consistent energy, your presence, your reassurance. And that reflection, it tells you everything. Here's what most people miss. No contact isn't a trick. It's not some magic spell to get someone to chase you. It's not a tool to punish someone or make them miss you just so you feel better about yourself. It's a boundary. It's saying, I'm stepping back. I'm creating space because something here wasn't working for me. Something felt one-sided, unclear, or emotionally unsafe. And that space, that pause, is where you get to watch the truth unfold. Because when you remove your energy from someone's life, their next move reveals their intention. You see, if he's hoping you'll break no contact, that hope is passive. That's someone sitting on the sidelines, silently watching and waiting. But waiting for what? For you to break first? For you to give in? For you to be the one who says, I still care, while he risks nothing? That's not strength. That's comfort. That's someone who wants the benefit of your presence without doing the work to deserve it. Because here's the reality. A man who truly values you doesn't use silence as a hiding place. He uses it as a wake-up call. If he really misses you, if the space made him realize what he lost, he doesn't just hope you come back. He acts. He reaches out. He initiates. He owns his part. And he doesn't do it to relieve the discomfort of silence. He does it because clarity hit him harder than he expected. But if he's sitting there hoping you'll break it, that's emotional laziness. That's saying, I want her back, but I don't want to risk rejection. I want her to make the first move so I can still keep my pride. And that right there is where you need to be honest with yourself. Because if you do break no contact, if you're the one who reappears, you're not just ending a silence. You're sending a message. You're telling him, you don't have to step up. I'll always come back. And once that pattern starts, it's hard to break. You become the emotional leader in the relationship. You do the hard work, the reaching out, the mending, the forgiving, and eventually that imbalance drains you. Because deep down, you know, if someone truly wanted to be with you, they wouldn't leave it up to chance. Let's be real. It's easy to sit with vague feelings of missing someone. It's easy to reminisce, to feel nostalgic, to miss the comfort. But it's hard to take ownership. It's hard to say, I messed up. I should have done things differently. I want to fight for this. That kind of vulnerability requires courage. That kind of effort shows intention. And if he's not showing that, if he's just quietly sitting in the background, hoping you'll make it easy for him, that tells you what you need to know. People reveal themselves in the silence. They reveal what they're willing to do when no one's making it easy. And if he's not coming forward, if he's not choosing to close the gap between you, then it's not because he's confused. It's because he's comfortable. Comfortable enough to wait. Comfortable enough to leave the emotional burden on your shoulders. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be with someone who hopes you'll make the first move, or someone who makes the first move? Someone who's brave enough to break their own ego, not just the silence. Because the man who genuinely cares about you, the one who realizes your worth in that space, he doesn't wait. He doesn't test the waters. He dives in, even if it scares him. He doesn't just think about you. He shows up for you. So if you're in that silence right now, if you're wondering what's happening on the other side, pay attention to what isn't happening, because that tells you just as much, if not more, than what is. Let's talk about something most people don't want to admit out loud. Sometimes, when a man is hoping you'll break no contact, it's not because he's had some deep revelation about how much he loves you. It's not because he's sitting in his apartment, staring out the window, realizing you're the one that got away. No. Sometimes it's simply because his ego misses the attention. Now, I know that's a tough pill to swallow. It's so much more comforting to believe he's quietly aching, wanting to fix things, just too afraid to make the first move. And sure, that can happen. But we have to look at the truth, not the fantasy. A man who's truly had a shift in perspective, who realizes your worth, who feels the loss of you, he does something about it. He doesn't just sit there hoping you'll be the one to reach out. He picks up the phone, he calls, he shows up, he makes it clear when he's just hoping you'll be the one to break the silence. What's actually going on underneath that? He's saying, I want to feel wanted again. Not necessarily by you as a person, but by what you represented. Maybe you gave him reassurance. Maybe you boosted his confidence. Maybe you validated him when the world felt heavy. And now, without that, he's feeling a little unsteady. So he starts hoping you'll text. Not because he's ready to build something with you, but because he wants to feel like he still has you. That's the difference between love and ego. Love says, I've lost something I deeply value, and I need to rebuild this connection the right way. Ego says, I miss the way she made me feel, and I need her to remind me I still matter. One is about you, the other is about him. The problem is, when you're in that emotionally vulnerable space, when you still miss him, when the silence is heavy, when you're constantly checking your phone to see if he's messaged. It becomes really easy to confuse the two. You think maybe he's hurting too. Maybe he's just scared. Maybe if I reach out, it'll make things better. But you have to ask yourself, who are you doing it for? Are you breaking no contact because you believe there's a strong mutual foundation to rebuild from? Or are you doing it because you can't stand the silence? Here's something I need you to remember. Breaking no contact doesn't always lead to closure or connection or clarity. Sometimes it just reopens a door you were finally starting to close. It reintroduces confusion. It gives him another hit of validation. He gets to know you still care, and then he can slip right back into passivity because he's gotten what he needed, your attention. And once he has it, the urgency is gone. This is the moment where you have to be honest with yourself. If he's really hoping you'll break no contact, ask why he's not doing it himself. If he wants to talk, why hasn't he called? If he wants things to work, why hasn't he taken a meaningful step toward reconciliation? Silence can speak louder than words, and his silence tells you a lot. Don't try to read between the lines or decode hidden messages. Just look at what he's actually doing. And look, I'm not saying he's a terrible person. I'm not saying he's manipulating you. He may not even realize what he's doing, but that doesn't change the outcome. If he's hoping you'll break the silence just so he can feel seen again, it's still about him. It's not about a real, mutual, grown-up relationship where both people are willing to put their pride aside and show up for each other. When you break no contact just to soothe his ego, you're not helping him grow. You're enabling emotional laziness. You're teaching him that he doesn't have to do the hard work, that you'll always be the one to reach out, to fix things, to give him closure or comfort. And you might feel strong doing it in the moment. You might think, and being the bigger person. But if his actions haven't changed, if his intentions aren't clear, you'll find yourself right back in the same emotional limbo you were in before, wondering where you stand, wondering if it meant anything. He doesn't get to come back just because he's bored, lonely, or unsure. He doesn't get access to you just because he misses the feeling of being adored. You're not an ego boost. You're not a therapist. You're not a safety net for when his confidence dips. You are a woman with value, with standards, with boundaries. And if someone wants a place in your life, they have to earn it. That means showing up, being clear, and doing the work, not hoping you'll make it easy for them by breaking the silence. And I get it. It's hard. The silence can be unbearable. You second guess yourself. You wonder if you're being too proud, too cold, too harsh. But you have to trust that the right man, the man who's truly invested, won't just sit back and hope you do all the emotional lifting. He'll meet you. He'll move toward you. He won't hide behind silence and ego. So before you pick up the phone, before you type that message, stop and ask, is this about love or is it about ego, his or mine? Because breaking no contact should never be a way to feel momentarily better. It should only happen when there's real change, real clarity, and real intention on both sides. You are not here to be someone's emotional crutch. You are here to be chosen, fully, clearly, and without hesitation. If he's truly invested, he won't wait for silence to end. He'll end it himself. That's something we need to talk about, because too often we get stuck in this place where we think silence equals tension, and tension means interest. We start thinking, well, maybe he's just afraid. Maybe he's hoping I'll say something first. Maybe he doesn't know what to say, but he really does care. And we build these narratives in our head, imagining that he's just waiting, counting down the days, staring at his phone, praying you'll be the one to end no contact. But here's the truth. When someone actually wants to be with you, when they really value you, they won't sit back and rely on you to break the silence. They'll do something. They'll make the effort, not because they're perfect or have all the answers, but because their desire to have you in their life overrides their fear of rejection or pride. When someone genuinely wants to be with you, they don't let ego win the battle. They don't let time pass and just hope you'll do the hard part for them. And that's exactly what it is. Hard. Breaking the silence after no contact takes courage. It means swallowing pride, facing the possibility of rejection and being vulnerable. But when someone cares, when someone knows they've let go of something valuable, they'll find that courage, they'll take that risk. That's what real connection does. It moves people to act. But here's where we often get caught. We confuse potential with reality. We think, he's just scared. He's probably thinking about me all the time. Maybe he's checking my social media. Maybe he's hurting too. And all of that might be true. But none of it means anything if it doesn't come with action. Feelings without action are just fantasies. They're just thoughts in someone's head. They don't change your reality. They don't bring the relationship back to life. They don't build a future. They just keep you stuck in limbo, hoping that at any moment he's going to come to his senses and finally make a move. But let's ask the real question. Why hasn't he? Why, if he misses you so much, hasn't he reached out? Why, if he's truly hoping things can be different, hasn't he said something? And the uncomfortable answer is often this. Either he's not as serious about you as you think, or he's relying on you to do the work so he doesn't have to feel uncomfortable. Neither of those are a foundation for the kind of relationship you deserve. A man who is truly emotionally available, who truly respects and values you, won't make you chasten. He won't sit back in silence hoping that you'll be the one to fix things, because he knows that if he wants something real with you, he has to show up. He has to be a grown man about it. No games, no testing you, no power plays, just real, vulnerable, honest effort. Think about this. How many times in your life have you cared deeply about something? A job opportunity, a creative project, a friendship you didn't want to lose, and done absolutely nothing about it? Probably never. Because when something matters to you, you act. You reach out. You fight for it. You make the call. You send the message. You try. So why should a romantic connection be any different? And yet we give people so much credit for doing nothing. We give them credit for staying silent, for watching stories on Instagram, for liking a photo weeks later, for doing the bare minimum. And we say, see, he's still thinking about me. But someone thinking about you is not the same as someone choosing you. It's not the same as someone stepping up and saying, I want this. I messed up. Let's talk. That's the difference between fantasy and reality, between someone who likes the idea of you and someone who's actually willing to build a life with you. Let's also not forget that sometimes silence isn't deep and complicated. Sometimes it's just a way to keep options open. There are people out there who like to know they could have you back, that if they needed to, if they were lonely enough or bored enough, they could reach out and you'd be there. They don't reach out now because they don't have to. Because deep down, they know you still care. And they're using that silence as a placeholder, not because they're hoping to rebuild, but because they don't want to feel the finality of things being really over. That's why breaking no contact prematurely is so dangerous. Because the moment you do it, you risk confirming to him that he never had to do the hard part, that you'll always be the one who makes the effort, that he can sit back, do nothing, and still have a place in your life. And if that's what you teach someone about you, they'll start treating you that way, as someone who will show up even when they don't. Someone who will do the emotional labor even when they won't. Someone who will make the relationship happen even if they're not showing up for it. So don't break no contact just because you're scared he's not coming. If he's the kind of person you can build a real relationship with, he'll prove it. He'll find his words. He'll break the silence. He'll take the risk. And if he doesn't, that tells you everything you need to know. Not about you, but about him. You don't need someone who sits in silence hoping you'll return. You need someone who says, I can't sit in silence anymore, because losing you would be the biggest mistake of my life. Let him show you who he is, not by what he feels, but by what he does. Let me tell you something that might sting a little bit, but it's necessary. You're not meant to be the chaser. And I say that with complete compassion, because I know how hard it is when you're emotionally invested in someone, when you've built something with them, or even if you almost did, and then it just slips away. The instinct is to fight for it, to fix it, to reach out and say, hey, I still care. Do you? That pull to break no contact, it's real. And sometimes it's so intense, it feels like your body's screaming at you to do something, anything, just to stop feeling that ache. But here's the truth most people avoid. If you're always the one who breaks the silence, you start to train someone to believe that they can walk away, stay quiet, and you'll come running. Every time. Think about that for a second. What does that say about your dynamic? What message does that send, not just to them, but to yourself? It tells them they can be lazy with your heart, that they don't need to step up, because eventually you'll come back and make it easy for them. You'll open the door, make the first move, relieve them of the discomfort of uncertainty. And once they learn that pattern, it's game over. Because now they're not showing up because they value you. They're showing up because they know you won't leave for real. You've taught them that your boundaries are negotiable, that your silence is temporary, and that they don't need to earn their way back in. Let's get really honest. What happens when you're the one who always reaches out first? You pour your heart into that message. You agonize over every word, and you send it hoping it's going to reopen a door that's been closed. And what do you get back? Sometimes it's breadcrumbs. Hey, I was thinking about you too. Or worse, I hope you're doing well, and suddenly you're back in the spiral, reading into every text, over-analyzing every emoji, hanging on to maybes instead of dealing in truth. You see, no contact is not a punishment, it's a boundary. It's not about playing games. It's about recognizing that if someone truly values you, they won't just sit back and wait for you to do all the work. If they really care, they will feel your absence. And if that absence matters enough to them, they will do something about it. Not fantasize about it, not hope you'll fix it. Do something. But if you break the silence first, especially when they haven't earned it, you rob yourself of that clarity. You interrupt the natural process that would reveal whether they're genuinely willing to invest, whether they're capable of rising to meet you instead of expecting you to lower yourself just to get their attention. And here's where the empowerment kicks in. Your silence is your self-worth in action. It's not passive, it's intentional. It's you saying, if you want access to me again, you have to show up differently. I'm not giving my energy to someone who only values it when it's gone. Because that's not love, that's convenience. That's someone wanting you around only when it suits their emotional needs. not because they're ready to be consistent, accountable, or committed. A man who truly wants to be with you won't just hope you break no contact. He'll take the risk, he'll feel the discomfort, and still lean in. Why? Because you matter to him more than his pride, more than his fear of rejection, more than the silence. But if he's content sitting in the silence, waiting, watching, wondering, then he's not your person. He's someone who likes the idea of you more than the reality of showing up for you. And I know sometimes you think maybe he's scared, or maybe he doesn't know what to say. But adults who want relationships find the words. They find the courage. Because when something's important to you, you move. You take initiative. You don't sit there silently hoping the other person does the heavy lifting. That's not how love works. So, the next time you feel that urge, when your fingers are hovering over your phone, crafting that innocent message to test the waters, pause. Ask yourself, am I about to teach him that I will always be the one who chases? Am I about to relieve him of the discomfort he needs to feel to realize what I'm worth? Because if you are, stop, take a breath, and remember this.